Hello, everyone. Before we start, I want you to do something for me. Hold your right index finger up and hold it there. Without moving any other muscle, concentrate on your bicep. What it's doing, what it's holding, the shape, the feel. Feel your bicep. In that brief moment, you've just changed the voltage flowing through your central nervous system. You redirected it from your brain to that muscle. However, many people, especially new people, view exercise as just a movement, lifting a weight up and down. However, it's not just that. Sure, it may be a part of it, but it's also a mental thing. And many people are oblivious or ignore this fact. Right now, I will tell you what happens when you stop mindlessly lifting weights and actually take control. When people start in the gym or any physical exercise, they can suffer from something called sensory amnesia, which is when the brain forgets how to function and works through momentum and secondary muscles. For example, bench press, very common exercise. I will talk more about this later. But when you're benching, you're mainly supposed to target the chest. But sometimes that load gets transferred through to the front delt. And all that load is going through there in this movement, not directed to the chest. So you lose some gains or potential growth. In a study by Joaquin Calatayud, 18 physically active men were told a procedure and had to perform 1 rep of their max weight on a bench during the first test. Then, after waiting and letting them rest, during the second test, they were told to perform the movement while focusing on the pectoralis major and the tricep brachii. Simply by telling them to focus on the muscles used during the lift, they were able to increase their pectoralis major and tricep brachii activation by 20 to 60%, which was measured by an EMG, an electromyography. The mind-muscle connection allows them to channel more electrical signals into less active muscles at intensities up to 60% during their 1 rep. Without adding weight, they turned up the electrical volume of their nervous system, which is pretty cool. Now, some scientists thought that having higher electrical activity is great, but does focusing on the contraction actually change your physical structure or your physique? This was answered by an experiment conducted by Dr. Bradley Schoenfeld. The purpose is to compare internal focus, concentrating on the squeeze of the muscle, and external focus, concentrating on the result, like running and pushing off the ground. He took 30 inactive 18 to 24-year-old men and split them into groups. 15 to internal focus group, and the other 15 to the external focus group. They performed 4 sets of 12 exercises like elbow flexions and knee extensions. They did this for 8 weeks. Using an ultrasound to measure any changes in muscular thickness, they discovered that internal mind-muscle connection is the key to hypertrophy. Here's a graph on muscular thickness increase. For the biceps brachii, after those 8 weeks of training, the internal focus groups, biceps went up by 12.4%, or their thickness went up by 12.4%, which is substantially more, practically double, than the external focus group's 6.9%. For the lower body part, or their quadriceps femoris, the internal focus group's muscle thickness went up by 9.3, and the externals by 7.8. Though there is a difference, not as vast as the bicep one, there is a difference, proving that internal focus is superior. Now, from that photo, if your goal is muscle growth, your mind should be inside the muscle. So, should you think about contracting every muscle during every activity? The answer is no. A meta-analysis by Jozo Grick is about how internal focus affects endurance. In this graph, it shows that thinking internally affects the endurance heavily, but thinking externally helps the endurance. From this image, it shows that if your goal is muscular endurance, then an external focus outperforms internal focus. Why, you might ask? Because when you think about controlling a muscle, the brain interferes by automatic motor pathways, which increases the contraction of opposing muscles, resulting in wasted energy. So basically, internal focus should be when you want to increase muscle growth or hypertrophy. External focus should be used when your goal is about maximum performance and endurance. But this brings the question, do you need heavy weights to trigger hypertrophy? Well, let's find out. Research by Wenchao Rong shows that an increase in strength comes from two things. The first thing would be neurodrive, which is intensity and frequency of electrical signals sent from the brain and spinal cord into the muscles. The second is morphological structure, physical shape, size, layout, composition of tissues, muscular structure. A network analysis by Dr. Pedro is about comparing how different weights performed till failure affect muscular growth. There were 3 main weights: heavy with low reps, less than 8, moderate with 9 to 15 reps, and a lightweight with higher than 15 reps. The results were there was no difference between muscular growth in terms of weight and rep differences. Meaning, as long as you end up close to failure, the muscles will grow whether you lift a heavy weight for 6 reps or a low weight for 20. And when I'm talking about failure, in my personal opinion, I think of 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. But it varies. Some people, it's till absolutely they can't move anymore. But if you're just starting off, I recommend you do 1 to 2 left in the tank. An increase in strength was different from these research results, though. Heavy and moderate weights produced a huge increase in strength compared to low weight and high reps. But heavy with low reps had the greatest impact of strength. To increase your 1 rep max, you must train with heavy weight so the body can adapt to exerting lots of force and carrying lots of force. You do not want to be injured with heavy weight on you with a very little trained body. You have to train your body to handle that weight so you don't get injured. For years, we treated fitness like a chore, where we sweat and destroy our bodies mindlessly. But science reveals the truth. Your body isn't a machine to be destroyed. It's an instrument for the outcome to be beautiful. You must command it. You can't just play something and expect it to be good. You have to think while using it. Next time you lift a weight or have to do something physically challenging, don't let sensory amnesia take over. Turn off autopilot and direct your attention into the tissue. Be in the moment. Because when you cross the bridge between mind and muscle, you're not just moving, you're taking control. Thank you for listening.